Good afternoon, yogis. Today's practice is focused on the solar plexus chakra. The solar plexus chakra is the third in our series and is located directly below the rib cage. It is associated with your digestive health as well as your respiratory and endocrine systems. When it is balanced and strong, you're more confident, mentally strong and focused, as well as optimistic. So it's going to make you a happier, generally more agreeable person to be around. We have a few positions in this practice that are really going to help us open and strengthen this energy center. So whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and meet on our mats and get started. So the most important part of our opening position is comfort. So go ahead and find yourself in a seated position, however you need to not focus on any of your lower body. So I'll be starting in half lotus here with both my hands on my knees. Feel free to use a pillow under your hips if that helps you feel grounded and comfortable. So as we close our eyes and deepen our breath, we're going to take a second to first tune into our bodies and start off with a small meditation practiced in a Joe Dispenza episode on Gaia. So go ahead and focus on the black space within your mind as you settle into your body. What you're seeing in front of you, this void. How deep does this void go? Can you see the edge that you're standing on? The void below? How far does this void go on either side of you? How far does it go in front of you? Look up. How deep is the void above you? Can you see yourself within this void? Can you feel the void as an extension of yourself? Take a deep breath. Relax. Find yourself as one with the void and its infinite potential. Take another deep breath and settle back into your body. Notice how this infinite potential is also within. Let's go ahead and slowly open our eyes and start to warm up our spine as we get this practice started. So we're going to begin with a modified cat-cow. So both hands on your knees, and we're going to guide our movements with our breath. So on your inhale, go ahead and lift your chest up and out, and exhale, roll the shoulders out and bring the lower back. Inhale out, exhale, curl in. Inhale, raise the head, chest out and proud. Exhale, sink the chest and pull the belly towards the spine. Inhale out, exhale in. Seated cat-cow is good for your lower back, hips, core, chest, and neck. So it's a great restorative position to do if you've ever done a lot of exercise or need to reset your body. The seated asanas can also be performed in a chair or on a pillow as we meditated. And for those of us who'd like to try a variation of this one, you can also interlace your hands in front of you rather than placing them on your knees as you move forward and back, giving it an extra challenge. Take 3 more, and we're going to move into our lateral side bends. So find yourself in a neutral seated position and raise your right hand up towards the sky. From here, let that right hand fall towards the ground over your head and have your left hand meet the ground. Breathe into your rib cage and have your gaze stare up towards your right arm. Fall deeper into this stretch if you feel called to do so. Keep your hip bones rooted on the ground. Take 1 more breath here and then find yourself back in neutral to do the same on the other side. So this time our left hand's going to rise up above our heads and reach over our head towards the right, and our right arm is going to be grounded on the floor. Look up towards your left arm and keep those seat bones rooted. Take a few deep breaths here as we expand our rib cage and stretch into our laterals. So having flexed the spine in our frontal and sagittal planes, we're going to now do some transverse plane work by doing a seated twist. So go ahead and take your right hand on your left knee and your left hand behind you and twist over and have your gaze turn towards your left shoulder. Use your knee as a way to pull your upper body further into the twist, and your breath as a way to deepen your practice. Find your neutral spine and do the same on the opposite side. So this time left hand to right knee and right arm behind you. And breathe into your twist. 2 more breaths here, and then find yourself back in your neutral seated position. And we're going to take this up a notch by doing a Kundalini yoga spinal twist. So go ahead and find your shoulders with your hands. And on your inhale, look towards the right, exhale towards the left. And let this rhythm meet your breath as you twist from side to side, doing both this time with your arms suspended. Keep your arms lifted at shoulder level. This pose benefits not only your arms, your shoulders, but also your middle back. Take 1 more round here, and then we're going to meet at the front of our mats for our standard cat-cow exercise. Going deeper into our sagittal plane. So hands directly below your shoulders, knees below your hips. On your inhale, let your belly fall down. On your exhale, reach up, cat pose. Inhale, tilt your pelvis up, but draw your navel in. Exhale, tuck your pelvis. Inhale, look up, gaze towards the sky. Exhale, drop your head between your arms. Remember while doing these not to strain your neck. Keep the movement in your spine. This position has great benefits for your spinal column. As you're doing these, try and focus on having your head be the last thing to move, kind of following the motions of your upper body and your back. Pulling these movements through the hips, up to your ribs, and then down through your head. And take your final breath as we get ready to thread the needle by raising our left arm and weaving it underneath our right, having our left ear meet the ground, hips up in the air. You can keep your right hand grounded or extended out in front of your head, stretching in both directions. And slowly come back onto all fours to do the same on the opposite side, raising the right arm up and threading underneath the left. Right ear this time on the ground. Once again, if you feel able or called to do so, take your left hand this time and reach it above your head. And when we're ready, let's go back into our all fours and meet in a downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Shavasana. For those of us that feel any strain, keep a slight bend in our knees and maybe walk out the feet to find a comfortable grounded position. Whenever you feel settled, go ahead and plant your feet and your arms into the mat and find stability in this position. Take a deep breath here as you fall into your downward dog base. We're going to go ahead and move through vinyasa, so move from here into plank position, bringing your chest forward above your arms. Straighten out your legs as you hold this position, and then slowly move down into Chaturanga Push-Ups, so let your upper body go down towards the floor without dropping or going too quickly. And then when you get towards the floor, to move into upward facing dog, flip your feet and raise your chest up and out with the support of your arms. And go ahead and let your chest fall back towards the floor. And then we're going to push it back up into our plank position. From here, meet back in downward facing dog. Now go ahead and lift your right leg towards the sky. Make sure you feel comfortable in it. And lift your foot up towards the sky and then drop your knee for a few sequences until taking your final one and pulling it through and meeting in half lunge or crescent lunge with your hands above your head and your left knee rooted into the earth. Try and keep a 90-degree angle with your right knee and your hips. Now do a crescent twist by placing your left hand on your right knee and having your right hand reach behind you. When you feel called to, bring your left leg up, meeting your right hand, falling into a twisted quad stretch. Now let's go ahead and meet back in neutral and plant both hands on the mat and find our downward facing dog to do the same sequence on the opposite side. So bring your right foot back to meet the left and walk out your feet. And then when you're ready, let's do a chaturanga. So plank, and then lower our upper body down, flip our feet, upward facing dog, stretch our head towards the sky. And then on your exhale, go ahead and bring our upper body back down towards the mat and push our body into our plank and have our hips reach up towards the sky and bring our head down into downward facing dog. Raising our left leg this time, let's go ahead and do our reaches, so foot up towards the sky, knee down 3 times, and then pull our knee towards our chest and drop our foot between our hands, having our right knee meet the ground and right foot lay down on the mat. Have our hands reach up above us, and then this time take your right hand to left knee and open up and twist towards your left side. When you are ready, if you did so on the other side, take your right foot up and grab it with your left hand to deepen your twist. Breathe here as you find your center and stay grounded in your knee and your foot. Take one more breath here, and then go ahead and find your hands back on either side of your foot. And then bring your left foot back to meet your right and throw your hips up into downward facing dog. We're going to move through another chaturanga sequence, so dropping our hips and finding ourselves in plank position, and then dropping our entire body down and having our feet flip up and lifting our head up towards the sky. From here, go ahead and find yourself back in downward facing dog and slowly start to walk your hands towards your feet. We're gonna be in our forward fold and then breathe into halfway lift, raising our spine up, and then exhale, dropping our hands back towards our feet. Take an inhale, and this time rise all the way up, vertebrae by vertebrae, meeting your hands towards the sky. And then go ahead and fall into chair pose. So exhale, drop your hips while keeping your hands raised on either side of your head, and try and use your breathing to have your hips fall deeper into this position. Now either focus on continuing to go deeper or begin to raise your left foot up, finding balance in your chair pose in this variation. And if you try to do so on the left, do the same with the right, really focusing on rooting down in whichever foot you keep on the mat. And now go ahead and inhale and meet the sun. Stretch your arms behind you, or just take a deep breath in mountain. And then exhale as you fall down towards your feet in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, meet your hands on the mat and find yourself back in a downward facing dog. So find that extra space in your body and then meet on the mat to do a few preparatory positions for a little Thunderbolt, beginning with bridge pose into wheel. So for bridge pose, we're going to have our feet planted behind our hips and hands on both sides, and then raise our hips towards the sky as we keep our head down on the mat. For many of us, this is going to be plenty, but for those of us looking for a little bit more challenge or stretch, go ahead and plant your hands on either side of your ears and meet in wheel pose. Wheel pose is a great inversion that's heart opening and hip opening, reversing a lot of the positions that we spend most of our days doing. I love going deeper into this position by shifting the weight from my hands to my feet, taking a few hops, maybe even emphasizing the openness of my shoulder blades by shifting my hips towards my head. We're going to slowly get out of this position by dropping our hips and shoulders towards the ground and move into hero pose, where we're going to have our feet on either side of our hips and our hip bones rooted in the ground with our chest up. So similar to child's pose, but rather than folding forward, reaching our heads up towards the sky. Hero positions are preparatory pose for camel pose. So we're going to get onto our knees and then have our hands drop towards our ankles, letting our chest reach towards the sky and our head fall back, trying to keep our hips in line with our knees and shoulders in line with our ankles. From camel, we're going to move into little Thunderbolt pose. So we're going to have our head meet the ground and our hands meet the mat. So slowly arch back until you find your head planted, and then let your arms just relax on either side of your body, deepening into this stretch. For those who think this is too challenging, feel free to just keep working on camel pose or meet back into our favorite child pose. If you feel called or able to do so, you can have your hands meet the front of your knees, pulling your head even closer to your feet. Feel the space you're creating in your neck and your chest and your rib cage, and slowly transition back into our counter poses. So beginning by doing a forward fold, we're going to bring both of our legs out in front of us and have our hands meet our feet. This is going to help us relieve the tension that we just created and reverse the curves that we're emphasizing. We're going to keep going by moving into boat pose, so rooting into our hips and having our feet raise off the mat, trying to keep our legs straight and our arms straight out on either side of us. Use your abs to hold you here. Breathe into the position and try and keep your feet in line with your shoulders. Have no tension in your neck. And for those of us who want to get a little bit of an extra challenge, we're going to do a few fluctuations of the spine by having our shoulders drop down and then reach back up, working our abdominals. And now give ourselves a break by falling back onto our mats and hugging our knees into our chest. Transitioning out of this into hero pose, we're going to sit on our knees and have our hips rooted between our feet. Take a moment to tune into your solar plexus, directly below your rib cage. What do you feel? Is it hot? Is it cold? Do you find openness in your spine? Now go ahead and take the solar plexus and place it on the mat, moving into frog pose. So having your hands reach out behind and hook onto either foot, you're going to root down and then you're going to push your hands down into your feet, raising your shoulders and your chest off the ground. This is going to raise your knees off the ground as well and really push your hips and your solar and sacral chakras into the earth. Frog pose will help you open your hip and growing area, working into the pelvis. In frog, we're going to push our feet up and out and lift our upper body into bow pose. So finding a lot more height in the chest and head and a lot more suspension onto our hip bones. Draw your shoulder blades towards each other. Lengthen your spine and keep your heart raised. Keep your hips in line with your knees and keep your feet engaged. Take one more breath here and then let your upper body fall towards the mat. We're going to move into our final counter pose, Locust Pose. By now having our arms behind us, raising our chest, raising our hands, and raising our feet. Shavasana is going to help us strengthen our back muscles and counteract the effects of prolonged sitting. Variations include the ones shown, ones with your hands on the mat, and even ones where you were to lift your feet to your head and raise your hips off the ground. We're going to move into the cool down portion of this sequence by taking one more vinyasa. So starting in a downward facing dog, we're going to lift our left leg this time and pull it through into a low lunge, arms lifted, warrior one. Now we're going to take our left arm back behind us and plant our back foot, warrior two, chest open. We're going to let our left hand drop to our thigh and reach our right arm over our heads, taking our gaze towards the sky into reverse warrior. Now moving our left elbow onto our left knee, we're going to take our right arm over our heads, moving into extended side angle, finding a straight line between our right body, hand to foot. From here we're going to move back into warrior two and then helicopter the arms back to the mat and have your feet meet into downward facing dog. We're going to take our right leg and reach it up towards the sky, planting it between our arms, coming into warrior one. Warrior two, we're going to open up towards the left side and then drop our left arm to our left thigh, reaching right arm over. Reverse warrior, and then dropping our right elbow towards our right knee, left arm over for extended side angle, this time a straight line from your left hand to your left foot. Go ahead and meet back into warrior two, and this time straightening our legs to meet in a wide leg stance. From here, we're going to reach both our hands out on either side of us and fall into a forward fold on our exhale. So go ahead and inhale, reach out, exhale, fall forward, and grab both feet or reach between your legs. We're going to move into an intense side stretch, so starting with the right side, have both hands meet your ankle, and breathe into your leg, trying to have your chest meet your thigh. Let your head drop, and then find yourself back in neutral to do the same on the left hand side, having both hands meet your left ankle. Keep reaching your head towards your foot. And eventually we're going to find that bend back in our left knee and meeting into warrior two to helicopter the arms back down to the mat, and then step back into our downward facing dog. Moving down into plank pose to chaturanga, upward facing dog, and then meeting back in downward facing dog before moving into our seated position. So go ahead and walk your feet towards your hands. Find a seat on your mat. And find your heart center raised above your hip bones. Now go ahead and put your feet together in front of you and meet in bound ankle pose. Focus on dropping your knees on either side and having your hips stay neutral at center, keeping your head and chest lifted. Focus on your breathing here. Tune into your body. Is there anything else you'd like to stretch? Or are you feeling relief? Now let your heart fall forward as you come into bound ankle fold, using your feet to help pull your chest towards the ground, keeping your head straight out in front of you. Breathe here. Fall deeper into the fold with every exhale. Allow yourself to let go of anything you might have brought onto your mat that no longer serves you. Find this new space you've made for that which you'd like to bring more of. Take one more breath here and move into Lotus, taking your left knee down to the mat, left foot to right hip, and right foot to left hip. We're going to focus on breathing with a count of 5. So inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale what you'd like to attract. Hold. Imagine what it feels like to already be there. Exhale. Release that which no longer serves you. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhale. Staying seated and moving into a few neck rolls to release any tension we might have stored there. So beginning by going clockwise, let your chin meet your chest and your head try and meet your back as you do rotations. Make sure you get both sides. Really letting your ears try and meet your shoulders and taking it at whichever speed makes you feel the deepest stretch. Now finally moving onto our mat for a few supine twists and then Shavasana. So go ahead and take both feet out in front of you, both hands at either side. And then take your left knee over your right hip and take your gaze over towards your left hand. Maybe take your right hand to meet your left knee, deepening your twist. Take a few breaths here. Make sure your neck is relaxed. And then shift your hips back to center. Legs out in front of you. To this time, raise your right knee. Maybe lift your hips and move them in line with your back. Keep your arms spread out on either side of you and take your gaze over to your right side as your left hand meets your right knee and deepens the twist on the opposite side. And now we're going to go ahead and take both of our feet straight out, head relaxed, arms at either side, shoulder blades on the mat, hip on the mat, and meet in Shavasana. Find yourself back in your void space. Feel how this infinite has gotten even deeper. Notice how everything that you're feeling, everything that you're sensing around you is all a part of this infinite void space. Keep your attention on this void space. Relax into this infinite. Know that this is always here and that you and it are always co-creating together. Pay attention to your thoughts. See how calm the mind can be when the body has been set free. Notice how you are the one choosing what gets brought into this infinite creation. Allow yourself to be intentional with these thoughts. Take a moment to focus on your dreams, your aspirations, things that you feel would complete your soul purpose. Is this love? Is this an accomplishment? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Let this void space become this dream. Feel how your heart feels. Let it be led by your heart. And let your newly charged solar plexus be the vehicle by which to get there. Feel your alignment with this vision. Feel how effortless it is to be there in this space, how natural it is to be your true self. Notice the joy you feel, the happiness, how this positive feeling is creating positive attraction. Things are falling into place effortlessly. And settle into a moment of gratitude for this beautiful life that you get to manifest, create, and live. Slowly start to wake up, maybe turn to one side. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Pay attention to what's around you. Thank yourself for taking the time to practice and letting your body feel the way it feels. The divine light in me honors and acknowledges the divine light in you, also known as Namaste. Have a beautiful day, yogis, and thank you for joining me in the solar plexus practice.